I'm going to come out here and sit next to you.
Please.
I think a lot of people think about Christianity. Where did it start for them?
Yep.
Did they grow up in a Christian home? Is it okay to become a Christian later in life? Can you tell us, did you grow up in a Christian home, or how did you first hear the stories of Jesus?
Yeah, I was really blessed in that both my parents have a Christian faith of their own, very different ways they came to faith. My dad is from a family of Greek immigrants, so he grew up in the Greek Orthodox Church. And my mum's from Ivanhoe, and she grew up in the Methodist Church. So when those two collided, it was a really interesting experience of faith. I had 2 children, and we were blessed to have parents who loved to tell us the story. And then I think I just really found that the story was important, and people around me loved it. And if they loved it enough, maybe I should love it too. So I think from a young age I got invested. And it's not that was like smooth sailing all the way. I certainly had times where I felt like I didn't know whether this was just mum and dad's beliefs, or it was just my church's beliefs, or whether this was something that I thought for myself. But now, I really commit to this story.
I know when teaching jiu-jitsu, there's a theory that you really need to teach a person 3 times if they start young. So as a an infant, like say like 5 or 6 or 8, as a kid, they come out and learn jiu-jitsu, learn the techniques, and even if they keep training, it's almost like they've got to relearn it all again in their teenage years, right? Like 14, 16, they relearn it, and then as an adult or a young adult, they kind of learn it for that 3rd time. And at one of those points, probably in the late teens or early young 20s, they really take ownership of their training. And I would think Christianity could be a similar thing. You may hear the stories when you're young. You may, confront them a little bit with some worldly issues in your teenage years. And yet at some point, you have to take ownership of that faith. Whether you're taking the L plates off or calling it your own. Did you have a moment in your life where you kind of took ownership of your faith and thought, I do believe?
Yeah, I think I have series of moments. Like if we think, and I have series of moments with this in my jiu-jitsu as well. If you think about like your faith as a mountain, I've never just walked right up the top. I seem to circle around and around and around. It's a series of moments where I can kind of go round once and I think this is mine, and then round the second time and it's not. This issue is hard and I don't know what to think about this, and there's lots of competing voices. Oh no, I've found what I think. And around and around and around and around we go. And I'm still having moments now where I think, gosh, I know what the right wing on this is, I know what the left wing on this is, what do I think, and how am I gonna own this for myself, and am I willing to practice it as if it's mine? And the same is true with jiu-jitsu. I mean, with my learning schedule, my training schedule, Mikey literally takes it in month or 2 month blocks to teach me one thing. One thing. And this is like twice a week for 4 to 8 weeks to learn one thing. And once I learn it with Mikey, that's once. And then we try and implement it in class, in live roles, and it's like, that role is, that round around is a lot harder and a lot longer. But slowly we do these ring. And so I can totally see how learning something as kids and then as teens and then young adults and adulthood, and then actually even in your elderly years, it being very, very different. And I don't think faith is anything different to that. The one thing is though that your coach in faith is unchanging and solid, and he has trained billions of people in the ways to follow him. And so I think there is hope for all of us that you own your tech in faith, round and round and round, moment by moment by moment. I think once it becomes important to you, then you really start owning it. And I think you see that on mats when young people move from their parents paying their fees in BJJ to them paying their fees, and suddenly when you drill, they want to get as many reps in as they can before the buzzer goes. But before they weren't paying their own fees, it's like, they'll do 2 and then they'll wimp out, because it doesn't mean anything to them, right? Like they're not owning it, it's not important for them. But as soon as they become responsible, or as soon as they want to play their own game, even drilling with them becomes a different experience, because they know that they have to do this on their own. And I think the benefit, again, of morning classes is that the boys that come here, most of them have families and jobs and kids, and they'll leave here and go and do kinder duty, or they'll leave here and go and do like whatever. And so when they come, they come to work hard, and faith is the same.
It is. There's a lot of similarities between jiu-jitsu and faith. One of them I know is, and I think it's a constant thing with jiu-jitsu, is we self-doubt. We have doubt, like I'm no good. It doesn't matter you get a black belt. You think, oh, I'm unworthy. You always have those feelings from role to role. Yet I think we need to, as a jiu-jitsu practitioner, look back and think, well, I have achieved a certain amount, and I am going in a direction, but I have faith in my technique. And what I'm picturing is as you travel around this spiral of faith and life, you've made the decision to follow Jesus, yet it's not without doubt and fear. It's not without struggling with those issues. Is that correct?
That's so true, so true. And I think when I know that I'm maturing in faith, because you don't necessarily get better in faith. You just mature. You just develop. Faith is a constant challenge almost. It's a constant thing that you commit to. Is that the time disparity between here's my struggle, here's my doubt, here's my fear, and it's very, very real, and it can be incredibly incapacitating at times. The time between having that realization and turning to God for help becomes shorter and shorter. It becomes quicker and quicker the more mature my faith becomes. So in my immature faith, there is a sense of I can fix this, I can do it by myself, I don't need any help, I'm not going to admit that I'm weak, fear isn't real, I can get by. Lots of self-doubt, lots of I don't need to train, lots of I can, do whatever I like, I don't have to watch my diet, if we're talking jiu-jitsu. But in faith, once I can get from I've hit rock bottom, and this happens often, and I am afraid and I am struggling and this is not easy, the quicker I can turn to God with that is how I know I'm actually growing. And so the doubt is real and the fear is real, but my faith is real too. And the shorter the distance those two have to travel to get to one another, the more I'm growing.
We cannot do jiu-jitsu alone. There's only so many hip escapes.
It doesn't go very well.
No, it doesn't.
No.
You're going to run out of partners if you're on your own.
Yeah.
So Christianity is the same. You need community. You need community to train in, but community to have faith in. You carry each other in good times, bad times, celebrate, share in the loss. Can you speak to us about the value of community in a Christian walk?
Yeah, community is fundamental in the Christian walk, fundamentally because God himself, we believe, is community. You've heard God as Trinity or three in one. It's a little bit complicated, but Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, that's a relationship right there. That's important. And for Christians, it's the same thing. To love at all means you need a subject and an object of that love and a recipient or a giver. And so we are built to love God and love others. That's the essence of community, and it can happen between one person and God, and then it just multiplies out. I think we talk a lot in the church about the need for one another. The truth is, we just can't live alone. We're not built for it. The cruelest thing you can do to a human being is put them in solitary confinement or isolation. We lose our grip on reality very quickly because we're built to be experiencing reality with one another. Jamie brings so much clarity to my life, and I bring clarity some to his life, and you bring clarity to my life, and hopefully I bring a little bit of clarity to your life, and so on, so on, so on. So community is deeply important, but it's not just Christian to Christian that is important. It's like we actually need people who aren't of our faith to also be part of our community, because we need to know what it's like on the other side, on the outside of what we feel all the time. And so there's a sense that love keeps us all together and keeps us growing and keeps us moving, and is what sustains us. But it's not just us who need it. People who don't have God or don't have faith or don't have principles by which they live by, we actually become the source of their community too. So belonging is a fundamental human need. We need a people to belong to. We need a story to be part of. And God gives us that willingly and beautifully. And for those people who don't have it, then we need to give it to them. And I think Renegade does that par excellence.
Well, I've always said here at Renegade that we can teach jiu-jitsu to anyone who's willing to come in the door.
And come back in the door.
And keep coming in the door. That's the key ingredient here. It doesn't matter shape or size or what age. I think we have 3-year-olds and 70-year-olds. We have all walks of life here. Yet the key ingredient is actually being here. If they're not here, we can't do it.
That's right.
And I think having faith is a similar thing. If you have to make the decision to get your training bag and come in the door, you have to make a decision to have faith in Jesus.
Yeah.
Are there any restrictions on people who can come to that faith?
Oh no. I think if there were, it wouldn't be faith, and if it were, then he wouldn't be God. He'd be some other dictator. God is not a dictator. God is not a scary person. God is not a in and out. I don't think. And it's like you say. And the funny thing is, the mat is always here, even if you're not. The mat is here, waiting for you to train. The mat is right here. It doesn't go anywhere. Sometimes it varies in cleanliness, but it's here all the time, right? Right? We're the ones who mess it up. It's us. God is the same. He is there the whole time, just waiting to engage with you all the time. Like, come in the door, put on your stuff, and let's roll. Like, let's go. And I think people, both on those who are relating with God and those who aren't, feel that door between starting and coming into a relationship with Jesus is the hardest thing. But for anyone on the other side of Renegade, the mat doesn't change. It's just here all the time. Come and train, come and roll, come and practice. It doesn't actually care if it's been a month or a year since you were last here. It's still here. It's still going to work. It's still ready to do for you what it's always done, whether you've missed your training or gained 10 kilos or had an accident or you've had an injury and you're coming back, or your last experience on the mat was horrible or really, really good. It doesn't care. It just wants you to come back. I think God is the same. He just waits for us to engage. And there's no restrictions on the mat. There's no restrictions with God. And once you get that in your head and understand that it's okay to come just as you are, you actually start doing with God what he has always wanted you to do with him. You just relate, just be, just come. Yeah.
Thank you, Mia. Thank you for those wonderful words, kind words, and words of wisdom. Can I pray for you?
Please.
Dear Lord, to give you thanks for Mia. Thank you that she's part of this community, a community that you are building, a community that you have called us to be a part of, and that we respond every time we come in the door and love and gather and serve each other as we try and bring light and hope to this world through your grace and your glory. We give you thanks for each person who calls this place home. May they come to know you. May they enter into a relationship with you, just as they enter into this mat and take on grappling. May they come to realise that you are the Creator and Saviour, that you do as the parable would tell us of the lost person. You wait for us. You not only wait for us, you run out to meet us. And that when we choose to come to you, you will come and meet us with open arms and love and grace and mercy. We give you thanks for all things that you do, but above all, we give you thanks for your completed works on the cross. We pray this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I'm going to do something I've never done before, turning the camera around to see the crowd. Ta-da! It's huge.